Hi guys,
I'm Jerry.
I'm Ciara.
We're ladies.
And we tangent.
Oh my god. Who gave me a job? Editing Jerry here. Hello. So on our Patreon, we asked our patrons what they thought about us using a past exclusive episode in replace of a new episode this week. And overwhelmingly, the answer was take a break. Ciara is on vacation right now. So I'm here going through some of our old exclusives, trying to decide which one to share with you. And I have selected a mental health check-in because I'm 12 minutes in. You can hear Forrest. I'm 12 minutes in and it feels like we could have recorded this last week or yesterday. It feels so current, timeless in a way, which is kind of sad because we are talking about being depressed. But I thought this would be a good one to share with everybody because I think we all could use a little bit of a mental health check-in. And apologies for the not super newish content, but we want to thank everyone who has encouraged us to take a break and utilize some of our past content to share with you. I will stop rambling and let you check out our mental health check-in. Okay, love you, bye!
You fucking idiot.
You goddamn full of rooski?
Full of rooski.
We call farts toodalooskies in this house.
I like that.
Hearing Ollie say toodalooski is one of the cutest things ever.
Can't even imagine.
It's ladies after dark. You know what's, oh god, you know what's funny? Is we're always after dark.
Because we don't start recording until children are asleep.
Yeah.
Except for mine and my Gert. And she's really making
up.
She's really making a fuss.
Sorry, I'm on my phone right now, guys, because I'm trying to pull up. We just did a quick live to see if anyone had any like prompts for us. Essentially, this is a mental health check-in because
we need it, guys.
Funny thing, we had 2 different episodes planned for tonight.
Yeah.
And like yesterday, I was like, hey, Cece McGeesey.
How about we do neither?
Let's switch it up. I know that we've prepared for these other ones, but let's do something totally different.
Yeah. And so here we are. But I think this is important because we've noticed a shift in our own mental
well-being
abilities.
Yeah.
And we've also noticed in like our Ladies and Fangens page a shift in a lot of people. So
I've noticed just on people's stories in general.
Yeah. People seem to be going through it. And it's a tough time in the world right now.
Yes.
So understandable. Especially if you're an empathetic person.
Yeah.
It's hard.
It's hard to feel like you can do anything right now. And it's hard to feel like you can feel like things are hard.
That's exactly, I think the guilt part comes into it because you're seeing all these horrible things happening to people and it's almost like I shouldn't feel bad because it's not happening to me, but then you do.
And it's like if I'm feeling badly about this thing, then or I'm speaking on this thing and I'm not speaking equally about this thing, then I'm a bad person.
Right.
But what is so, and I think social media has driven this.
Yes.
It is like inspired like performative activism.
Yes.
In a way where it's like if you're not actively speaking about everything all the time, then you don't care.
Yeah.
And that's not the case. Sometimes it's just that the fucking world is on fire and I don't know what to do.
Yeah. What can you do?
Right.
If you talk about it, it's almost like, was that even enough?
Right.
You know? And so
what is enough? And who gets to decide what enough is?
Yes. And, you know, if you say a comment like, we're so sorry to hear about so-and-so in passing, feels like maybe it wasn't, you know, you didn't dedicate enough time to it. But God, there is not enough time in the world to dedicate to half the things that are happening. So
because things are happening so rapidly. Like in the past week, we have lost 13 service members of our military in
a horrible attack in Afghanistan. We have had Texas create a horrific law regarding what women can and can't do with their bodies.
Which is terrible.
We have had hurricanes.
Massive hurricane.
Destroy multiple states.
Yep.
And among other things, like there's so many things happening.
And not to mention that, hey guys, COVID is coming back with a vengeance right now. It is horrific. I don't know if it's where you guys live, but in a small town where we live, not a lot of people vaccinated. It's coming back in a very big way, and it's scary because it's not even cold and flu season yet, and it's already bigger than it was last cold and flu season.
Right.
So it's a scary thing to see all of this happening in real time and not knowing what the future holds.
Right. And I was talking to a friend yesterday about how in our own personal lives, like you're experiencing some really heavy things right now.
Yeah.
I am experiencing stressful things right now. The world is going through multiple traumatic events where I feel like all of us can simultaneously feel these things, feel the effects of these events. And with us having this platform, there's a responsibility that comes along with it to speak on these things or to acknowledge different groups of people and the things that they're going through as a sign of like solidarity with them.
Yep.
And it's also like hard to do that. It's not hard to be in support of people or stand in solidarity with people, but like to feel like what we're doing is enough.
Yes.
And it's also hard to feel like we have any right to complain or to feel. I was saying to a friend, like, if you have a broken, and we've said this before, but if you have a broken arm and I stub my toe, we both say, ow.
Yeah.
Your pain that I could probably agree is worse than my pain doesn't mean that mine didn't hurt.
Exactly.
But I still beat myself up because I said ow in the first place.
Yep. Because look at how much more pain this person's in.
Yep.
It's sad that we do that, but we do that.
Yep.
All of us do. So we wanted to do this for you guys to show you that it's okay. We understand. We're a little bit on Sad Bitch Island with you.
Yeah.
And just talk about it.
And I think it's important for you to check in with yourself. And I think it's important for us to be honest.
I am very proud of how many people have done it through the Facebook group, have checked either anonymously, which is fine, or like put themselves out there and just... That is incredible.
Or created a thread for other people to like check in with themselves.
That's really beautiful. I don't know if you guys understand that. And it was something that it took me a long time because I got told that it was attention seeking and that I needed to stop doing that. But putting yourself out there, being vulnerable with your mental health like that, especially to a group of basically strangers, is a really brave thing to do.
Right.
And the fact that you feel comfortable enough in a community that we've created makes me very proud. So, you know,
you never know, like when Ciara and I first started the podcast, we didn't think that anyone was going to listen.
No.
We never, this was a dream, but we never anticipated this
level.
Reach.
Yeah.
So whenever we spoke about things, we were really just navigating
our own emotions.
Right. And we were doing it openly. And now we know that in our journey, we essentially were like giving other people ways to articulate what was happening in their own mind and ways to advocate for themselves. And like that is so, so valuable. You never know if what you have to say could be the thing that makes it click for someone else.
Yes.
It could be a life-changing thing for someone else that for you was hard, vulnerable, or maybe it was just like a nothing thing that you were just venting about could be the thing that was life-changing for someone else.
Exactly.
So thank you guys for doing that in our Fandoms page and connecting with each other and creating such a safe space for people to be open.
It is beautiful.
Yeah.
It's a really lovely thing to witness.
And that's why we got on there today and we were on live for like, I don't know, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And we wanted to see if there was anything specifically you wanted us to talk about. Because we can obviously like ramble. We have proven to do that. But we wanted to see if there was anything mental health related that you guys wanted us to touch on.
Yeah. I'm going to No, the first question we got was, what are your favorite ways to combat Sad Bitch Island?
I'm not good at it.
I will tell you what mine is. Number 1, napping. It might not be healthy, but it does, I don't know.
I can't do that.
Better. Yeah, I know. Number 2, trashy reality TV shows. Oh my God. Are those my guilty pleasure when there is nothing more than watching just like drunk young people make out with each other.
Yep.
And I'm like,
mind numbing.
It really is, because Corey was watching it with me. I binged all of Are You the One, by the way. So thank you.
You're welcome.
Because it was beautiful. And Corey watched, like, he would come in during like season 3 and 4, I think.
You have Hulu?
Yes. Oh, I've got to 6.
Okay, you need to watch Love Island.
I know. I probably will next.
Okay.
I'm going on maternity leave soon. But Corey was like, this is the dumbest show I've ever seen, like twice while I was watching it. Season 6 rolls around and he's like, this is so dumb. But he also is not moving from his seat.
Yeah.
And then the night ends, he's like, hey, don't watch any more without me. I was like,
season 6 was tough.
Yeah.
That was like, I didn't understand the groupings there.
No, it didn't make any sense to me. I think that they start fucking with people, I'll be honest. Because I think
some of those pairings I would have never thought.
No. Yeah. I don't agree. But anyways, so that's what I enjoy doing. Just find something that you love that you can kind of like shut your mind off. For me on Sad Bitch Island, the way that my mind works is really against me. So like if I can find something to focus on that's also not like heavy, it's really kind of nice.
I don't have a lot of options. I also don't realize, like, I see some people saying that like they feel themselves sailing off to Sad Bitch Island, like they're on their way. I never realize it until I'm there. And I'm like, when the fuck did I get on this beach?
How am I here right now?
Yeah.
That's how I used to be. The more you get there, you'll catch on to the cues.
I think I'm so distracted that I don't realize it. I know one thing that I do for myself is I try to go on a walk a day. Like I try to go on 1 to 2 walks a day. It's not necessarily relaxing because I do have my kids with me, and sometimes Ollie doesn't want to ride in the wagon, and so it's like stressful.
It's at least getting out of the house.
Yes, I'm trying to get out of the house. But I just one thing that always helps me is I listen to like folk playlists. Essentially, if it's music that you would hear in a movie if someone woke up in a cabin and then like walked outside with a warm cup of coffee.
Ooh.
And like a robe.
I love those vibes.
That, but like music.
Yeah.
That's the kind of music I'll listen to. And the other day, Ollie and I were painting. And so watercolor painting apparently is a calming thing for me.
Yeah, any kind of outlet. We can't tell you specifically what to do because it's going to be different for anybody. But here's the problem: when you're on Sad Bitch Island, the biggest way that I know I'm sailing there is when I start to feel a loss of passion for things that I used to like. I just don't care to do them anymore. I don't want to, and so when I start feeling those, I cling on to the one. I like hyper focus on the one thing that is bringing me joy. And it's usually trashy reality shows. Yeah. But it could be anything. Whatever it is for you, even if it seems like it's not productive, because I beat myself up all the time when I watch like TV a lot, when I binge it, because I'm like, Ciara, you could have been doing this. Don't let yourself do that. Do not let your mind do that. Tell yourself this is your medicine and just focus on whatever is giving you any kind of serotonin or dopamine in that
like
moment.
If you injured your leg and you had to do some kind of physical therapy, you wouldn't look at your physical therapy as a waste of time. You would think of it as a way to get your leg better.
Yes. Even though it's taking like hours out of your day.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, next question. Let's see. Mom guilt and the anxiety and depression that comes with it. Ooh, that's a big one.
I was just talking to Shane about mom guilt yesterday.
Mom guilt's bad.
Because I realize that when I say yes to things, I am also saying no to something.
Yes.
So I had a couple inquire with me for like next weekend. And they said, hey, my photographer might not be able to make it from Utah. Are you by chance free? I am free. But I had already planned to do a garage sale with my sister, to be with my family. It was an open weekend, which normally I do not have when it comes to fall.
Right, this time of year.
So I looked at Shane and I'm like, Shane, I don't know what to do. They're going to be out of photographer. Like, that's terrible. I do have it free. That means I should do it. And that's something that Barbara always talked to me about, is like, just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Exactly.
And me saying no to the couple isn't me being a bad person. It's me saying yes to family time. It's me setting a healthy boundary for myself when it comes to work. And I've never thought about it that way before. I always thought that, like, I am supposed to give all of myself to everyone else and fuck me and my family, essentially. Like, it was always, it doesn't matter what I want. I'd have to help other people.
That's what I need to do.
Right. But unfortunately, my family is now almost like collateral damage with that, where like my kids are just like, oh, you get me during the week. It doesn't, you're not going to miss me on a weekend, but like they will get a different version of me.
Yes.
And they will get a better version of me during the week if I have a free weekend.
Yeah. And you'll get to be with you as a collective.
Yes.
I know there's not a lot of time that you guys all get together.
Right.
So yeah, that is very important. It's difficult, I think, with things like, mom guilt is so easy to come by, because here's the thing. No matter how many books you read, no matter how many, experts and specialists and everything there are, nobody knows the right way to parent. Nobody knows nobody knows what we're doing.
Right.
We're all just doing it. And there is no right way to parent, because you have to parent for yourself and your style and your child, and everything is different. So making those decisions and having them rely 100% on you as the person who has to make them is going to bring shame and guilt, because no matter what decision you make, there's always going to be that question in the back of, was that the right decision to make? So I think giving yourself a little bit of grace when it comes to that, understanding that you're making the best decision for yourself and your child.
But do you do that
moment? Do I?
Yeah.
No.
I was going to say, we're talking about us here.
I'm giving advice that I'm not going to. No, but I really have been trying.
Yeah.
I really, really have been.
Well, I started crying because I realized that, like, if I'm beating myself up as a mom, that means that I must not be happy with who my children are. Because, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
If I'm saying, like, I'm not doing enough, okay, what is my child doing that's telling me that what I'm doing isn't good enough?
Right.
Because that's where my benchmark is. If I can look at my child and say that he is healthy, he is communicative, he is happy, he is safe, he is loved, then what am I doing wrong then?
Yeah. Well, that's what I try to do. I try to look at the good, because there's a lot of things that I have mom guilt about that I did when Noah was younger. Specifically, like the amount of screen time that he had. And so he's a little bit addicted to it now. And by a little, I mean a lot. Mm-hmm. He also has ADHD. I have to remember that. He hyperfocuses. That is a part of his ADHD.
Yeah.
So the fact that hyperfocus, because he'll hyperfocus on reading too. It's not just video games. But when he is hyperfocusing on something, it's like all he wants to do. So that makes me feel a little guilty, like that I did that to him in a way. But knowing what I know now is helping me a little bit.
Yeah.
And then also just like seeing the good things that he does as a human being, the way he speaks to people, the way that he treats other people. We were walking out of a restaurant today and I started having a Braxton Hicks contraction. I had to stop. He put his arm around me and started rubbing my belly and was like, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" The other day, Corey dropped something in the bathroom that I had. I think it was like my straightener or something, and it fell and smacked him right on the pinky. So he screamed, and I yelled down, "Are you okay?" And he didn't say anything, because when you're really mad, you're like, So he didn't say anything, and Noah ran downstairs to go make sure he was okay. And like things like that, I'm like, okay, so maybe I didn't do everything great, but I did some things.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that helps me a lot.
And I think it's about like retraining your brain. Like, and I realized that I wasn't doing that all the time.
Yeah.
And that I need to refocus.
Now I have a lot more mom guilt with this baby.
Why?
Well, just because
she's not even here yet.
That's why. It's just like because I can't for sure tell that she's 100% okay.
Yeah.
And right now she is focused, like nobody else is doing anything for her but me. So like if something were to happen, I know this isn't true, but in my mind, if something were to happen, it's like, oh, it's on me.
Yep.
I am her safe place right now. Yep. And I'm the only one that can provide anything for her. So like that, I guess it's not depression. It's more, I get like mom anxiety right now with the fact that I'm like almost to the finish line, but like we're not there yet. And do
you think that stems from your miscarriage?
Oh yeah. And what happened with Noah where he tried to come early and like everything was fine with him. But, you know, I just feel like now that I know certain things through like child psychology courses I've taken, I did not have a really good pregnancy and a way to set him up like for life, just because I lived in a poverty situation more so than I do now. I didn't have access to like really healthy foods and vitamins and all these things. I was stressed all the time. And I know now that those affect their moods. So like, it's probably why he has anxiety. But like, you know.
Yeah, because it couldn't have been genetic.
Well, it probably is genetic too, but that feels like my fault. I don't know. Pregnancy is, I think, that's like, I never realized how like mom guilty I feel like it's the most when I'm pregnant and probably right after. Just
I still feel it from my losses. Yeah. Like I feel guilty. I feel guilty that they're not here.
Yep.
And then I feel guilty for feeling guilty that they're not here.
Well, I told
because then my kids wouldn't be here.
I told you the other day it was the beginning of August, but we passed the due date for my first pregnancy with Corey, and that was like a really hard day because number one, I was thinking like, you know, this is sad. I should be having a baby right now, or I should have already had a baby. But also, should I be sad because this thing in my belly wouldn't be here if I did have that baby, and I already love her so much that it's hard to even think that way.
So. We the anniversary of my surgery for Jonah was in July. And
I saw the pictures of us when we went right after your surgery, so I knew that.
Yeah, because we went hiking right after. I have a scar on my leg from that day. And it's still very, very hard for me. Like I see a picture of a kid with Down syndrome and I just cry. I cry because I think like, why couldn't that be me? Why couldn't he be here? Like, why didn't he make it? Like, that's not fair because so many do. But then I have to check myself. Like, if he did, my life would be so different. And Ollie wouldn't be here. Forrest wouldn't be here. Like, I don't know what would have happened. And like, I think about life like dominoes, not the pizza.
You said it in my stomach. I was like, "Oh, I'm hungry."
The game, the tiles. But I think about it like a bunch of dominoes stacked up, and my domino knocked into, you know, like losing Jonah was a shift, and it knocked a bunch of it was a chain reaction of a bunch of other things. And like how many people, like I think about Jonah and how Jonah led to photography. And while I was at that photography workshop, people told me I should have a podcast. And like there was all of these things that happened that ripple effect to now me having you and having like this relationship with you and us having this relationship with all of these people. Like his domino, the ripple effect that he had on other people's lives, like that has so much meaning. But like inside me, the guilt of I couldn't keep him safe. I did something wrong, but like I didn't. But
well, it's hard. Just hard to So basically, we don't know.
It's just a constant battle and it never goes away, and that's why I have wine.
It will never go away. I really don't think it ever will. But I like to think that, kind of like, I hate to be cliche, but like things happen for a reason and you just have to like roll with the punches kind of.
And I think it's also
parenting.
I think it's also beneficial that like our mindsets are kind of shifting from what am I doing wrong to what am I doing right?
Yes.
Or what am I doing well, or, celebrating who they are instead of beating ourselves up for who we're not.
And if you make a mistake, because we all do, like I said, I've caught myself making multiple mistakes, that just catch it and change it. Like that's all we can do is try to grow and be better people. I'm a much better mother to Noah now than I was in the beginning. And I feel bad that I know I'm going to mother this baby better than I did Noah. Yeah. Because I know more and I'm older, I have more resources. I just know that I'm going to do a better job. However, I don't beat myself up because something that happened there made Noah who he is.
Right. And he's wonderful. Right.
And we have a close bond, and I love that. Someone said, can you talk about the last time you were truly happy versus just feeling content? Or no?
The last time I was... yeah, I can.
Okay.
So we went to Michigan last weekend. That's Ciara and I recorded 2 podcast episodes like early. Normally we record on Fridays, but we recorded like last Wednesday or something because we went to Michigan. I shot a wedding there. We were there Thursday, Friday, Saturday, came home Sunday. And it was the first time the 4 of us were going to have a family vacation. It was the first time we were having a family vacation, period. Yeah. Because like we had taken Ollie to the beach, but it was with Shane's entire family.
Right.
At a beach house. So like it wasn't just us as a family unit.
Yeah. And then goodness, Forrest was born during COVID. So
right.
It was like, where are you going to go?
100%.
Yeah.
So we looked at where the wedding was going to be in Michigan, and it was like a 3-hour drive. It's right outside Toledo, essentially, right across the border. And I thought that's not too far for us to take the kids. So I found this place to stay, and it was in Luna Pier, and we were on the lake. It came with a golf cart. Oh. We walked in, and there was the owner met us there, and she showed us around the house and everything. Mostly because she wanted to warn us that no one wanted us there. Oh. There were signs all around the cove that we were at that said something cove. I forget where we were. Against Airbnb. They like did not want Airbnb people there. Damn. I know, because they associate Airbnb with like bachelorette parties, and they were like, this is a quiet place. So it was priced decently, and I thought it was they said they do that because they want to make sure they keep out the riffraff.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Understandable.
So anyway, we walk in, she leaves, and there's a chalkboard wall. There's like a whole little play area. She had toys there for the boys.
That's so sweet.
And I'm staring out at the lake, and my kids are on the floor, and they are playing together. They're crawling and chasing each other around the couch. And I just started crying.
Yeah.
Growing up, I didn't have my entire family on vacations very often. My dad worked, at the park in town. He was the assistant park director, and like the peak season for the park is the summertime. Yep. And so he didn't get to come on family vacations with us, and family vacations were not always fun. Yep. And so like to have that moment where my kids were laughing and chasing each other around, and it was peaceful, and we were just together and present, like I was truly happy.
Yeah. Oh, I love that.
I just cried a lot.
That's beautiful.
Shane's
though.
like, are you okay? I'm like, no, absolutely not. I'm not okay at all.
Let me have this.
Yeah.
That's really nice. Mine is kind of the same. Was when I was on vacation. I wish
without Corey.
I wish Corey would have been there.
Yeah.
That's hard for me. But there was a moment. I did go on vacations a lot with my family, but it was like a collective, like my whole family went. We would go with my aunts, my uncles, my cousins, my grandparents. My mom was a single mom back then, so she brought us 2 kids. But because she was a single mom, it was kind of like a tribe raising us, or like a I always think of elephants, how there's like matriarchal, you know,
figures.
Yeah. And they kind of all take care of the kids. That's what it was like. So like we would stay some with my aunt and she would take us out into the ocean, or we would stay with my grandma and, you know, so we did that. Me and my mom and my sister went, which I think I would have loved to have Corey there, but I just know that we're going to have so many family vacations.
Yeah.
Like I'm looking forward to what you just described, but I'm also happy that I got one last time, because I told my mom and my sister, like, that was a big thing for us. We were so obsessed with how we grew up in our childhood. We kept trying to do that. So we would go when we could every couple years, the three of us, and then sometimes
I'm like getting emotional.
I know, I'm sorry.
Well, I'm getting emotional thinking about like you and Corey and Noah and your baby, like being on a vacation, because like you never went on a vacation with your parents.
No.
Like, and you're going to be able to be there as a family unit. And like the second that you are standing there hugging Corey and you're seeing your children, like,
that's what, see, so
I want you to record it. I want to see you cry.
I will. But like, so that's the moment I'm looking forward to. However, it was a nice goodbye to a moment that I'm going to get emotional. It was a nice goodbye to a moment that I've had my whole life, which is like the single mom and like sisters helping raise the kids. And it was really just a nice, I don't know, it was beautiful. We were all on the ocean, and there was a point where my sister, she's got really long arms and she's very tall. She's gonna be very mad that I said that, but she's not an exclusive member, so I can't.
So fuck her.
But she's much taller than all of us, so she had Noah, because when the big waves came, you know, she threw him up, and it just looked like my Aunt Lori, who, by the way, if you have listened before, she's the one that passed away. It was very much like seeing into the past, but like, but it was also knowing that was going to be the last time. It wasn't a sad thing for me though. It was a beautiful like end of an era kind of thing, because it's like I'm growing up, I'm moving on from the single mom life and gaining something beautiful out of it. So
I love that.
Thanks.
Thank you for asking that question.
That was really nice. I didn't know where I was going to go with that, but
I think it's important to think about times like that, or to mark them down, document them in some kind of way. It was so lovely being on that golf cart, and Ollie like wanted to drive it all the time. And because where we were at, it would have been your nightmare. The backyard, it was like a 10-foot drop off to the lake. It was like a seawall.
No.
So it was beautiful to sit out there. But like if I have toddlers. So it was a nightmare.
So scary.
We could not go out there. But we were on the beach, all fine and dandy. They fucking have sand flies. They bite.
Oh yeah.
And they hurt. So we could not be out there for very long. So it was like all well and good until the flies fucking bit us.
Ouch. Oh yeah. No. How do you manage intrusive thoughts?
Not well, I'll tell you.
Not well.
Okay, so that was one of the biggest things that Barbara and I focused on when I first went to therapy, was figuring out what were my intrusive, distorted thoughts. And here's the thing. Sometimes they are mean to me, and other times they're just fucking weird. And I'm like, get out of my brain. You know, when I have intrusive thoughts is sometimes when I'm having sex.
Oh my God, same.
I'm like, get out of here. It's
same.
Uncomfortable.
I don't think, do men get that? Maybe
guaranteed
some, but
no.
Definitely not mine.
I guarantee no.
Because he's in the zone. One time I ruined sex.
You did?
And Corey told me I did. Well, we finished, so it was fine. But one of my intrusive thoughts was I had just got out of the shower, and so my hair was all wet and kind of gross. And so he was like in the mood, so I just pulled it back into a low pony.
I'm George Washington.
Midway through, me being on top, I said, because I couldn't, it was so intrusive that if I didn't say it, I was going to think about it the entire time we had sex. I looked him straight in the eye and said, do I look like a founding father? And he was like, get off of me.
And you're like, so yes.
He literally goes, why the fuck would you say that right now? I was like, because if I didn't get it out,
you don't know me at all.
You were going to finish and I was going to be here George Washingtoning myself.
And I was going to be signing the Declaration of Independence.
So he's like, no, you look beautiful. And I was like, thank you. We can continue now.
He's like, I don't want it anymore.
No, he didn't. He said I ruined the mood. He got back. He got back in the group. I had to help, but I was like, funny. I'm really sorry. But then the entire rest of the time, guess what? I didn't finish because
I know that's my problem.
Because my intrusive thought the rest of the time was, good job fucking ruining it by saying the Alexander Hamilton thing.
Oh, I'm that way too. I talked about the plastic bag thing.
Oh yeah.
So like I will think about that.
Yep.
And I will just think like he's staring at it. He's staring at it. He can't see his own dick past your paper bag there. So he's really enjoying himself. You nasty.
Corey told me, he's like, why can't we ever have the light on like when I'm from behind? And I'm like 100% because in my mind, all I'm wondering is if you're staring at my hairy butthole.
Yes. Yeah.
And if there's hair on it, I don't know. I can't reach back there anymore. It's very scary.
Well,
everybody gets hair on their butthole.
Yeah.
So if you say that you don't,
no, I know that I do.
To? Who are you lying?
I know that I do.
I have friends that would be like, I've never, and I'm like,
okay,
stop lying.
How do I deal with intrusive thoughts? I say, get out, you.
I have to say them out loud, apparently, in ruined moments.
Sometimes I have to say them out loud, but other times I have to like challenge them.
Well, my therapist told me what I should do is when they come in, immediately write them down and then immediately write out like a different way to redirect it. So if I was thinking like, do I look like a valuable father right now?
No, I don't.
Yeah, that's it. Just answer it and then that's it. And do it every single time because it'll start to become a habit and you'll have like two voices in your mind. One challenging the one that's being the weird one. I
had an intrusive thought today that was like, no one actually enjoys being your friend because they think that you only want to talk about yourself and that you are not supportive of them.
Yeah.
And people are going to get really tired of you. So like, that's something I have to challenge. I have to challenge them. My intrusive thoughts are mean.
Yeah.
And anytime there is like a disagreement or a space with someone, I always feel like it's validating my intrusive thoughts. And so it gets harder and harder to battle them. That's why I was my most successful, my most healthy version when I was going to therapy once a week.
Yeah.
But I was seeing so much progress that I would go back every week and be like,
I have
Barbara,
nothing to talk about.
Yes, I didn't have anything to say. And it's because I was being validated so frequently and I was practicing validating myself so often that I wasn't getting into those holes.
Yep.
But now I went from weekly to bi-weekly to monthly and now I'm fucking struggling.
Yeah. Yep.
So I might have to tell Barbara we might have to.
Let's up these a little bit.
Yeah. I'll talk to her on Tuesday.
Oh, good.
We're going to have so much to catch up on.
I have so much to tell you. And also, let's schedule one next week.
Yeah.
This says, how did you feel after stopping birth control? Because it's been a bit rough. It was awful. I don't know what birth control you're on, but
it was a hard transition for you. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it was. I had the Mirena. So if you're on a hormonal birth control, just understand it is going to be rocky because those shifts in your hormones happen so fast. You're going to have a crash. Like the Mirena, I had a Mirena crash and all of my hormones went absolutely fucking bonkers for like 3 months. And then it mellowed itself out. But I know there are supplements you can take. There's Alani New Balance supplements that I took.
New Balance or shoes?
Alani New. And then Balance is what they're called.
Got it.
I took those and I drank a tea that was supposed to help. I can't remember what the tea is called, but there are like supplements, I guess, that you can take that can kind of help with hormone imbalances. But it is going to be a rough month or two. It gets better. I promise. Your hormones will level themselves out.
I knew when I first got on birth control, I didn't want to get on birth control. I wasn't like, I had sex before, but I wasn't like having sex a lot because I knew that my boyfriend at the time was toxic. And I had headaches all the time.
Yep.
Or I faked them because I did not want to have sex with him.
Which you shouldn't have to do. Men should just be able to take a no.
I don't know how to say no.
It
wasn't that I
especially when we were younger. Like I feel like that was a big thing. People would be like, just say no. And I'm like, I can't.
I'm not allowed to do that.
No.
Yeah. I wasn't having sex, but I had sex. And because I was going to college, my mom was like, you should probably just like get on it. So but I also had horrible periods.
Yeah.
My cramps were just crippling. So when I first got on birth control, I had never experienced what I thought was depression, but I got on that birth control and oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Was I hit with a wave of hormones that I could not regulate, and like my weight was all over the place.
Yep.
My mood was really bad. I was so sad. I was withdrawn. And I wouldn't consider myself someone who experiences, I probably experience like seasonal depression.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think that I'm someone who experiences like clinical depression.
Yeah.
But on that birth control, I was like, Mom, I have to get off of this.
Yep.
Like, this is bad, whatever this is. And so I switched, and the one that I got on after that, definitely I felt way more regulated. My weight was different. My emotions were more manageable.
Yeah.
And I was on that until I got married. So I was on that for like 7 years.
Oh, wow.
And I got off of it and didn't feel anything.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't feel like it was much of a difference at all. So like my experience getting off birth control, my experience getting on was terrible.
Yeah.
Because when I had Ollie and then I took birth control after that, I noticed the exact same feeling I did the first time.
Yep.
And I told Shane, like, I'm not fucking taking this.
Yeah.
Because I'm not going to go on. My hormones were regulated just fine before.
Yep.
And he was like, fine, but you're going to get pregnant.
And you did.
And I did. So.
The way it goes.
Yeah.
Ugh.
But I'm not on it now.
Yeah, I don't want to be on it again. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Shane has a vasectomy, so I'm fine.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm going to do. Oh, by the way, someone said, Jerry, just because Ciara's getting more compliments, wanted to make sure you know you're pretty too.
Oh, I don't care about that. I was just saying you needed to focus.
Yeah. Okay, this person says, ooh.
But thank you. I guess that was rude of me. Thanks.
This person says, I'm really struggling with imposter syndrome at work. I don't feel like I'm good enough to do my job, and I feel like I've fooled them into hiring me, and I feel useless. Please help. Number one, you're not an imposter. If you got the job, you got it for a reason. I will tell you something about managers. They don't hire people for pity.
Yeah.
They don't hire people because they don't know what they're doing. Like, you are worthy because they hired you. Right. So just understand that.
You said that to me in the first episode that we did on imposter syndrome. You were like, you think you tricked all these people into thinking you were capable?
Yeah. There's no way.
You're not that.
No offense.
You're not that.
Yeah. You're not that tricky.
I don't think imposter syndrome ever goes away. And I think that just comes from self-worth. And I think it comes from society telling us that we're not allowed to celebrate ourselves, or that's because conceited. So like, it's hard and I think narcissism has been like such a buzzword as of lately. And I think that I'd eventually like to talk about it because I think it's gotten such a bad rap. There is negative things, but there's negative things with every disorder. Yeah. And is it a personality disorder?
I think so.
NPD, narcissistic personality disorder. Yeah. I think there's negatives with everything. Yeah. But I think that like
there are people who are not bad people who are narcissists.
Right. And so I think that like needs to be
negative stigma on that.
Right. But that I think society tells us, you
can't love yourself more than you love other people, or you're a bad person.
Right.
And why?
And you're also not good enough.
Yeah. But also it's almost like a form of jealousy where it's like, I see you being successful. Let me take you down a peg, because you can't be too successful. You can't feel too good, because then you might get farther. Yeah. Because then you might get farther than me.
Right.
And I don't want that.
Right.
Which is weird. That's a weird thing to like.
Or don't want you to get cocky. But like, there's a difference between cockiness and confidence. And like, you're allowed to be confident. You're allowed to be self-assured. You're allowed to
know you're
good enough. And like, who gets to decide what that is? Like, we're all just fucking making it up as we go along.
Literally all of us. Your manager, boss, whoever hired you probably has those same feelings sometimes.
I want manager boss to be my title someday.
It already is.
Hi, Jerry, manager boss. Nice to meet you.
You're manager boss of this podcast.
Sure. I love that.
100%.
Oh my gosh.
What's the hardest mental health issue with either yourself or your loved one that you've overcome?
I think that identifying that I actually had a mental health disorder was the hardest thing that I've had to overcome, but also understand, because kind of like how people have internalized misogyny or internalized homophobia, I had internalized, I don't know what the phobia would be, but about mental health disorders.
Yeah. Excuse me.
I know, my throat almost did that too. But I didn't want to have a mental health disorder because in my head, that meant I was weak, that I was broken, that I wasn't strong.
Well, because that's what we were told our whole lives. It's like, you can beat this if you just try hard enough.
Right.
Ciara, you're not depressed. Oh, you just need to get out there and exercise a little bit.
And if you feel it, don't you fucking dare let anyone else know.
Yeah.
Because they're going to use it. And you don't want them to think you're weak, do you?
Yeah. And it's like, that is difficult to overcome. Just the fact of getting validated enough to be like, yeah, you do have this is, and it's not a bad thing.
Right.
It's just a new thing.
Right.
But now you have to learn to, it's almost just like you're still allowed to drive your car, but now there's obstacles in the way. But we're going to teach you how to drive through those obstacles.
Yeah.
And that's an important thing to learn, but getting to the point where you can get through those obstacles, where you have the ability to have someone teach you or medication that can help you. Yeah. Like, that is hard to get to, because I feel like a lot of us almost have imposter syndrome. I know I do, with like I am almost 100% certain. I am 100% certain that I have ADHD. Yeah. Everybody who has come in contact with me tells me they know I have it. Right. And I know that that's probably where my anxiety and depression have stemmed from.
Well, you have a lot of experience with Noah's diagnosis. It's not
that's
like
why I'm just like guessing that I have it because sometimes I can't focus. No, like I've seen it manifest in my son. You
go to therapy with him, so you hear his therapist talk about it with him. And,
his dad has it. His dad is diagnosed and on medicine, and we have a lot of the same qualities, like that. Right. He knows has stemmed from you. We have the same things that made you get your diagnosis. So like, I'm certain, however, because I don't have it written down on paper, when I say it aloud or when I make an excuse as like, oh yeah, that's ADHD related, I feel like I don't even think when I get diagnosed that I'll feel comfortable saying
I still don't.
Yes, because I'm like, people are going to think I'm just using that as like that's why that person who sent that comment made me so upset, because it's somebody who's saying like, basically, you're using this mental illness as like a funny way to be relatable. Ha, don't we all have ADHD?
I thought my whole life to not have a mental illness.
Yes.
I never ever wanted
Nobody wants this.
Fall into that category, because I was told that it was weakness. I was told that it meant that something was wrong with me. When you hear illness, you think that sick. Yeah. There's something wrong with you. It needs to be fixed. And I didn't want to have to be fixed. Yeah. And when I was sick, like regular, like throw up sick, I was told to hide it because people were counting on me. Yep. And if I missed school and I missed basketball practice, then my team would be let down. Yep. So
work through it.
Are you really? You need to go puke in the hallway and then come back. You need to rally. And so like, I learned that illness was bad. Yeah. Sickness was bad. I need to hide it. Yes. Because if people know, then they're counting on me. They're going to think I failed them. Yeah. And I didn't want to fail someone by having a mental illness. And that's not what it is. Yeah. And so it's taken a lot of courage to claim it and say, yes, I have these things and it's okay. Yeah. And it's so helpful.
It's going to be a hard road to learn.
But it'd be even harder if I didn't acknowledge it.
Yeah. So it's almost like you're given tools in that validation and in that diagnosis. And those tools now you're like, okay, let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can build with this to make our lives easier. However, it feels like I'm not allowed to have those tools because I'm a faker. Yeah, because I'm doing this for attention.
Yeah. If I have a mental illness.
Right.
I do. I do. And I'm allowed to say that I do.
Yes.
And I'm allowed to advocate for myself and give others tools to advocate for themselves. Which reminds me, this week I'm in busy season. And it's busy season for us with the podcast, but I'm also in busy season for photography. And I have been feeling really overwhelmed. And when I'm overwhelmed, I just shut down. That's why I told you I have 100 unread text messages.
Yeah, you just like,
I've never had that many unread text messages in my fucking life.
Yeah.
But I am so overwhelmed that I
thing.
can't even look at my phone.
Yep.
So I woke up the other day and I think I've talked about this on the podcast before, where when I have a lot to do, it all feels like it's floating above my head. And I don't know, it's like I need to fit all of this stuff into a funnel, but I don't know how to get it. It's all coming in at once. So nothing's actually coming through. It's all just like stuck at the top.
Yep.
But I don't know which one needs to go first in order to help.
Yeah. That's why I don't like cleaning.
Well,
that's how I feel when I look at my house.
What I did was I started each day when I had the time, when I was like done making breakfast and stuff and when the kids were all settled. But I sat down at the table. I made this my first thing. Sat down at the table and I did a brain dump. Everything that was floating above my head that I needed to do, I wrote it down. And so it was like chaotically written on a piece of paper. But some of them were time sensitive. Like we had a call with someone at 11:30 the other day. So I knew, okay, at 11:30, this has to happen. What can I do before 11:30 that is doable with the kids' schedule? And what can I fit after 11:30 that's doable with the kids' schedule? And so I started picking pieces from that brain dump and I organized it. And it was so much more fucking manageable.
That, again, Noah's therapist has told me with his ADHD that I can't tell him things like go in and clean your room. Because he will stand. He's not even watching TV. He'll go and stand in his room and just stare at it for like an hour. And then I'll walk up and be like, what have you done? And he's like, oh, I took some trash out, but it looks chaotic still. And it used to frustrate the shit out of me. And I would get so annoyed. Like, what? I tell you to go clean, like go clean. But in his mind, there's so much and it's so overwhelming. So when I brought it up to his therapist, she's like, try writing down small tasks, putting it on a piece of paper and having him cross it off. So instead of go clean your room, it's, hey, can you go take all the trash out of your room? And then will you fold your clothes for me and throw your old clothes in a hamper? Write every single thing down. Now, it's hard for me because now I have to micromanage.
Well, and that was the hard thing for me too, because with my to-do list that I would normally try to create, I would just be like, okay, this is all the stuff that needs done today, instead of like organizing it in the way that I did. Because normally I would be like, okay, I need to do this, and it doesn't matter if I do it in this order as long as I get it done. But what I would do is I would bounce between tasks and then I would never fully finish one. So I told myself, okay, so like the other day, I had Forrest's doctor's appointment at 10, but I also needed to pay bills and I needed to do something for PUA and I needed to do a couple other things. And so I was like, okay, so I will pay my bills and answer PUA and then I'll get ready for the doctor's appointment. But in between that, I had a little bit of extra time and I was like, what else could I do here? Not a fucking thing, Jerry. Don't you do this out of order. And I made myself follow it in order, and this has been the most successful week I've had.
Yay, good.
Thanks.
That's very exciting.
Highly suggest.
I'm trying to do that with tasks for the baby room. But the hardest part for me is managing it. That's hard to get started. I think once I get the hang of it. So now what I do when I do like Noah's room with him, I have him sit down with me. We talk through the task together and I have him write it out because I want him to grow and like get those skills and eventually not need me to tell him what to do. When I say, hey, you need to have your room cleaned, he can sit down, he can make the list, he can do it. And it's really
I think that would be a
me.
cool thing to walk into and be like, okay, no, we're going to clean your room. Let's make a list. Can you write down the things that you think need done?
Yeah. It's really nice because maybe he doesn't think in the order that I do that,
right.
you know. So it has been helpful having him do it. If we don't know if we have ADHD already, I don't remember what that fucking question was.
Me neither. Oh, I think it was, what was the hardest thing you had to overcome?
Okay.
With mental illness?
So
acknowledging we had it?
Yes.
Allowing ourselves to claim it?
Yes. Speaking of the next one, can you guys please talk about how you went about getting diagnosed with ADHD for those of us who are scared too? You had to see a doctor.
I asked.
Yeah. See a doctor or a psychologist or a therapist or something, someone who is qualified. If you go to a regular doctor, like your primary care physician, they usually have like a sheet that, like how we got Noah diagnosed, was they gave us a sheet with a bunch of questions for us to answer. And then we got a sheet for his teachers to answer. And then they put those together. And we got his diagnosis that way. We also got recommended, he was going to a therapist full time at that point, and she recommended him. She believed he was either on the autism spectrum or had ADHD. A lot of times those mirror each other in symptoms. So,
he makes entirely too much eye contact.
Well, he didn't when he was younger. I don't know if you remember that. The reason why we started taking him was my boss has a daughter who is autistic. And I went to a work Christmas party thing. Yeah. Like you could bring your kids and they had Santa and everybody was trying to talk to him. Now I know it's just when he's shy with new people. Like for you, he never had that problem. Right. Because he's known you his whole life. Right. But for new people, he wouldn't, especially when he was younger. And my boss pulled me over and was like, hey, I'm not trying to be like anything. Did you notice this? Because that's how I found out that my daughter was on the spectrum. Yeah. And I just wanted to bring it to your attention. And I was like, oh, I appreciate it. He is seeing a therapist, that we're figuring that out. And anyways, so then we went to the primary care doctor and he decided that it was ADHD, which that diagnosis makes perfect sense with my son. So, especially the more he grows, it's almost like he's growing with it. Yeah. But yeah, the only way that you can get diagnosed is through a doctor, unfortunately, or a therapist or a psychologist. So you have to go see someone to get your official diagnosis. And that's really the only way you can do it.
Right. And I mentioned before, I'm going to say it again.
Go ahead.
Is don't be afraid to ask, because worst case scenario is they say no, and then you at least have narrowed down your search to figuring out why maybe you're struggling in certain areas or having a hard time with certain things, and or you do find out that yes, you do have this, and then you can equip yourself with all the tools that you need to better experience your day-to-day.
Yeah, and the interesting thing is too, if you suspect that you have ADHD and they tell you no, a lot of times they could give you other examples of things that you do have. You know your body and your mind better than they do. And so if something's off, and so it could be something like being on the spectrum. It could be that you have an anxiety disorder that's manifesting in this way, or depression, things like that. And so just asking about it is the first step. And even if it's not what you thought it was, it could turn out that you find out what it really is.
Right. So. And also, I would suggest that, like, even if you don't get a diagnosis, there's so many resources online for if you suspect you have something. Do not self-diagnose, first of all. I obviously do not self-diagnose yourself. But if you are thinking that you may have ADHD, for example, if you go online and you look for tools, resources that help, strategies, kind of like what we were saying with making lists or breaking down into smaller tasks, and you utilize those they're not like exclusive to people who have ADHD or neurotypical people or neurodivergent people. Like, they're not exclusive for you can only use these strategies if you have this diagnosis. Exactly. If you're afraid to ask, but you think it might be a thing and you want to try some of those strategies, there's no harm in doing that. If it helps you, it helps you, even if it's not your diagnosis.
And the only reason really that you need a diagnosis is, number one, to validate, yourself.
Right.
And to be able to say it, because again, that's why I don't fully say that I have it with confidence, because I'm not officially diagnosed. But also it can help if you need medicine. But a lot of times if you're already going to therapy, even if they don't officially diagnose you, they can help give you those tools. Even if they don't know that that's like, you could just say, hey, I have problems with organizing and things like that. And they'll help you through. My therapist was giving me tips for organizing, but she never told me that she thought I had ADHD.
Right.
But the way that she was helping me are tips that I've seen for people with ADHD. So yeah, you're exactly right. What is some advice you wish you would have received earlier on in life in regards to caring for your mental health? I can say my very first one is, do not listen to other people when they try to tell you that you're being...
That you're fine.
Yeah, that you're fine, that you're being over dramatic, or that you're lazy. There's likely, if you've ever been called lazy, there is a reason why. I need people to understand that. Because
not a reason why you were called lazy. A reason why you don't want to do things.
There's a reason why you are quote unquote lazy. Like, I don't believe really that laziness is just inherently a thing that people have, especially if you've lost motivation for things that you enjoy. If you were truly lazy, you would still do the things you enjoyed. You just wouldn't want to do anything else. But when you have like depression or a crippling anxiety disorder or ADHD,
or a
things
mood
like that,
disorder in general,
anything, it can manifest itself into looking lazy because you're basically paralyzed. Like when I would be like, now I think that it's an ADHD thing, not a depression thing. But I would sit there and have so much going on in my mind that I'm like, I literally can't do any of this. I would rather just lay here. And people would call me lazy, but at the same time, I'm like, my brain is going 1,000,000 miles a minute. Right. Like, this isn't lazy. There's no way.
I remember the other day I was having a panic attack and I was sitting on the couch. And I had to have like a really heavy blanket on me because I was feeling like floaty.
Yeah.
And I kept hearing in my head over and over again, get up, get up. Oh my God, I'm like Bo Burnham now. Get the fuck up.
Yes.
I was like, get up, get off of the couch, move, do something. And my body would not move.
Yeah, literally. I feel when that happens to me, I literally feel paralyzed.
So I could look to someone on the outside like I'm lazy and just want to lay on the couch, when really I'm screaming at myself to get up and nothing's happening.
Yes. So I don't know. I just really try to tune out other people, because so many people in the world don't understand mental health.
Is this you talking to younger you?
Yes, it really is. And their ignorance of mental health disorders and mental illnesses is, they should keep that ignorance to themselves. But there's nothing you can do except for tune it out, because people are going to try to be quote unquote helpful in a way. And a lot of times,
because they mean well. They think that being overly positive and just encouraging you,
toxic
or like
positivity. Yeah. I wish I would have known about toxic positivity back then, because I was receiving so much of it, and I thought, wow, these people really love me, and
feeding it to yourself.
Yeah, and they did. They thought they were helping, but it was just making it worse. So.
Yeah. I wish I would have known that failure isn't a thing.
Oh, I love that.
I was so scared to do things because I was afraid to fail. I don't often do anything unless I think I'm going to be successful at it.
Same.
Or I don't start something unless the first time I do it, I can be the best.
Same. And then if you're not, you're like, wow, I suck.
I'll never do that again.
Yep. Which is
but
so
I
funny,
also,
everything takes practice.
I know. And I can look at other people and think that they're allowed to try things more than once, or to have a growing period and to learn, but I have to be perfect right out the bat. And I wish that, like, I realized that stopping something doesn't mean I failed.
Yeah.
And if other people are disappointed either by my performance in something or by my decision to not do something, that is not my responsibility to bear that.
Yep.
And that I'm not failing anyone. The only person I can quote unquote fail is myself by putting myself in situations that make me uncomfortable. So I wish that I realized a long time ago that failure is not a thing. I'm allowed to start things and stop things whenever I want, and I'm allowed to not be good at things. Or that good is just whatever you make it. So
And then not everything that you put yourself into has to be great. You could just do things because you enjoy doing them.
Yep.
I remember, I think I've talked about this before, that I was like, I suck at drawing. Why do I ever draw? But like, I liked it. And it didn't have to be good.
Yeah.
Who cares?
It's just something to do with my hands while my mind was running wild.
Yes.
Yeah. It reminds me of that one Friends episode where Rachel goes running and Phoebe wants to go running and she runs like an absolute weirdo. And Rachel's like, I can't run with you because you look weird. And she's like, well, I'm having fun.
Yeah, I'm having a good time.
Go ahead and run like a lame person. I'm going to go have fun.
Yes. This one says this is probably more so for you, but with both of you working from home, how do you separate work from your home life?
I don't.
Yeah, it's very hard.
It's bad.
It's very hard.
I was just telling Shane yesterday that, because I was driving home from a session and Shane was like, oh, I had so much fun with the kids. Ollie was so excited. And I know that when Shane gets home, the kids are like, Daddy's here. And they are so excited to spend like that hour, 2 to 3 hours with him before bedtime. And it's like a special bonding time that I don't ever get because I don't leave and come home. Like if I leave and come home, they're normally asleep and I don't see them till the next day.
Yeah.
So I get jealous of that a lot because I have to figure out how to be a mom, a photographer, and a podcaster simultaneously every single day. And not be able to compartmentalize those different parts of me. They all exist
simultaneously at the same time. And that's hard. I can imagine that is hard because there's no room to just enjoy one of those at a time.
Well, that and so like because I have ADHD, like my brain doesn't know which path I'm on. Like when I was,
there's no time to you can't shut off work, Jerry. She's always around.
Like when I was a teacher, okay, I'm in the school building, I'm teaching. When I leave, I'm no longer teacher Jerry. I'm human Jerry. I'm wife Jerry. I'm mom Jerry. But like that doesn't happen anymore. I can't object permanence. You know what I mean? It's like when I'm in school, tunnel vision, here I am. I know my role here. It's all overlapping.
It has to be extra difficult too, I'm sure, because as somebody who has their own business, people contact you at every hour, all hours. And the same thing with the podcast business. We're getting emails at all hours of the day.
Right.
That, you know, if you look at them and then don't respond immediately, you could forget about them. And then it's like, there are no correct hours that you can put on something like that. So it really is like, unless you're sleeping, you're constantly working, and that is draining. That has to be incredibly draining. So sorry.
And I don't know how, like, I was just talking to my friend about this yesterday. She's like, there's not many industries where people have clients and they give all of themselves to their clients, because like as a photographer, I want my clients to feel like I'm more than just a vendor. I want them to feel, because if I want them to be vulnerable and connected and authentic in front of my camera, they need to trust me.
They have to feel comfortable.
And they have to feel comfortable with me.
You can see uncomfortability in pictures.
Yes. And so I want you to look at those photos and I want you to feel like you're looking back in time. I don't want you to feel like a camera was even there.
It was a posed thing.
So I know that I give a lot of myself to my clients, but same thing with the podcast. Like I give a lot of myself to them as well. And so it's hard to know where I start and stop.
Yeah.
All of it. And it is very draining. And I feel badly a lot.
So if you have tips, we don't, but can you give a girl some tips?
SOS.
She needs them. I think we'll probably do like one more. Do you think?
That's fine.
There's a lot of them. I'm sorry. They're still coming in, so apologies if we didn't get to yours.
Yeah.
What is something you recommend doing if you want to try and go to therapy but can't afford it? I really think I should go, but want to know alternatives before spending the money that I already don't have. Okay. Like we've said a million times, therapy is a privilege. And unfortunately, where we live, and I know we have international listeners, but I'm not sure how it works with you guys, but where we live, healthcare does not include mental health, and it's hard enough to get healthcare.
Regular healthcare. None of it's accessible.
Sorry. Smash my mic into my teeth. But yeah. none of it's accessible. And then mental health care on top of that is like, who? No, not existent. Yeah. Basically, there are like some insurances that cover it, which is kind of incredible. But
mine is covered. I mean, we have a copay, but yeah,
mine was covered when I was on my insurance. Now I think I should be covered again. I'm really gonna go back soon. I swear. Now I've
only been encouraging you for.
I know. Well, now they're doing virtual again, and I think I feel more comfortable doing virtual, which is weird because I didn't think I would, but I think I do now. Anywho, there are people that you can talk to, or not talk to. There are people that you can, like, YouTube videos. There's some really good people on TikTok, which I know is like TikTok for your, but there are like psychologists that go on there and they give people like just coping skill advices. I would say if you don't know if you're diagnosed with something, possibly pay at least to get a diagnosis, because sometimes, like I said, I was treating the wrong thing, and that can put kind of hinder you. So as long as you can get like a diagnosis, that might help a little bit more. So at least then you can look for coping mechanisms for this specifically, because if you're just going into it, you're not really going to find a lot of resources that can narrow down your specific problems that you're having. But there are resources online. There's books. There's a lot of things that you can, I've Googled many what do I do when I'm in a depressive episode kind of things. And just reading about that can help if you can't get to an actual therapist.
Yeah. We are very fortunate to grow up in a time with the internet.
We really are.
I think about that all the time. And I think about even like the difference between when you had a baby versus when I had a baby, like how much information is accessible now.
God, it's crazy. Even being pregnant again, I'm like, where was all this 10 years ago?
YouTube has been just a wealth of knowledge.
Truly.
But
so, yeah.
Well, hey, thanks guys for helping us out with the mental health check-in. Like, I knew that we could talk about stuff, but it's always nice to know like, what you guys are interested in, and it's sometimes not where we would naturally take the conversation, so that's cool. So thanks for hanging out on this exclusive episode. We appreciate you. We love you.
Yes.
This has been Ladies After Dark.
Bye.